All right, welcome, Paranormal Freaks. I'm your host, Mike, and you're watching Paranormal Highways. Now, I met this gentleman. Yeah, I think it was actually at the Thomas house, wasn't it, Ian? And
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
he was very interesting then. He's very interesting now, and he keeps pulling all kinds of things out of his house. Hat. Pulling out his the man's a paranormal investigator. He builds SLS cameras, and I just found out recently that he was a debunker for the alien field. Everybody, meet Ian mrzyglod. Did I do
Good
it?
evening. That works. A debunker for the aliens? Well, it didn't start off that way.
Well, I mean, you kind of told me a different kind of direction, so I was like, all right, we won't say debunker for. He went out and actually tried to find some truth out of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I lived at 35 miles from a place called Warminster, which is in the southwestern England, very rural countryside. And it was supposedly a hotbed of UFO activity. It'd been going on since the mid-60s. And lots of books published showing all these flying saucers that were being photographed down there. And I'm thinking, I live 35 miles away. Why don't I just pop down there one night and have a look at some of these alien spaceships myself? It's that easy. And when I got there, didn't know where to go. Went to the local police station. The desk sergeant said, well, after he stopped laughing, you need to go up to this place called Cradle Hill. That's where all the nut jobs are. And so we went up to the top of this Cradle Hill. And honestly, I don't know if you remember the scene from Close Encounters where all these strange people are camped out on a road waiting to see these spaceships go over. That was what it was like on this hill. Anyway, we got there and all sorts of people there. I met some people up there that I'm still in contact with today. And it was just fascinating. They're all just watching the skies. And went back a couple of times, and they were selling magazines on the hilltop. And these, when I saw magazines, are things that were just hand drawn with the cover. It was all typed, and on our stepper machine, where they would rattle the things off and print them in their bedrooms. And I'd buy these magazines. And then they asked me, would I like to get involved? You know, and I said, well, I can draw, so I'll do the covers. So I started to do these covers for them, and I got more and more involved.
Hey, let me catch you off real quick, Ian. Do you have a headset?
No. You're coming through clear.
You're coming through clear, but as you keep going, it pulls in some feedback on it.
Keep going where?
You know, as you go along, it's pulling some feedback.
Okay.
It's overlapping itself a little bit.
Okay.
Do you hear me? Turn me down. Either that, yeah, because what it's doing is it's trying to cut you off.
Okay.
Echo.
Okay, well, I don't know what you heard. So I started doing the covers for the magazines, and then I got involved with the magazines. Are you still hearing me? Am I coming?
Yeah, there's an echo, but it's not unbearable.
Okay. Then looking at all the other magazines that were out there, it became apparent that people were just taking all these sightings at face value. Magazine would be full of all these sightings. Mrs. Snodgrass saw a saucer or bright light over the forest and something. And that was it. It was printed, probably picked up in some books later on. And we all felt that there was no investigation into what these people were seeing. You know, supposedly that 95% of all sightings are explainable. But in these magazines and in these books, very few people seem to be looking into it. So I ended up founding a little organization. Julie, my wife, was in it. And we started investigating, and we did our own magazines. And those magazines were taking a serious approach, trying to say, here's a sighting that's been reported to us. Let's try and find out what this person, these people could have seen. And if there's a mundane explanation for it, let's make it known. Let's publish it. One particular case that highlighted the kinds of people that we would come into contact. We got a letter from someone down on the south coast, very well-to-do person, really highly ranked within the BBC, and said, please come on down. I am seeing alien activity, woods, near where I live. There are aliens on the ground, and they're doing something. And I want you to come down with your cameras and record everything. So I thought, okay, why has he contacted us? Why have we gone to the authorities? But anyway, he was insisting on us coming down, bringing our ID badges. So I quickly got some photographs from a photo booth for passports, stuck them on some paper, laminated them. I mean, they weren't really valid. I just made them myself. And we all turned up at this house, big house. The fellow was big, built like a lumberjack, tall, bearded, big, expensive house. And his wife asked us in. They gave us some tea and some biscuit, cookies. And he said, right then, let's go out, look into the woods and let's go and see these aliens. You got your cameras? Yes, we have. He checked our IDs, put us into his Land Rover, drove off into these woods. It was dark. We had no idea where we were. 3 of us and this big fellow. Walking into the woods, deeper and deeper we were going. And we had no idea where we were. And all of a sudden he said, stop, don't move, don't move. There they are. And he's pointing as we're at the edge of the woods, to a clearing. And I can see a little village, a little hamlet with street lights and people walking around. And he said, there they are. What are they up to? And the sudden realization that I'm in the woods with this complete nut job, this big fellow, we have no idea where we are. And Terry, who's with me, Julie was with me, Terry says, hold on, but that's not, and I go, nope. No, don't say anything, stunk. And this fellow saying, film it, get filming. Ah, yes, I'm filming. And we were suddenly frightened because we had no way of getting back. We didn't know where we were, and we didn't know if we were going to get out of those woods alive. We didn't know this. You getting this? I'm getting this. I'm capturing every bit of it. And we were playing along, just hoping that you would say, okay, let's get back to the car. And eventually he did. Now, this fellow worked for the BBC. There were these tall broadcasting masts down near where he lived. So they were part of the overseas BBC broadcasting. And he was an executive. Yet he was completely bonkers. And I felt maybe dangerous. Eventually he said, right, we've got enough on film? Yes, we have. We got everything we need. We're taking lots of photographs of this little village in the dark. Got back to the Land Rover. Got back to his house. Do you want to come in for no, we'll get back home. My God, I mean, I felt we escaped with our lives there. And the realization that some of these sightings reported by people, a lot of it is in their imaginations. He did see something, but it was ordinary streets and street lights. There were no alien ships and aliens and excavating the land there. Now, if that could have been reported in a book, it could have been part of the alien or UFO lore.
Right. Let me ask you, when you do investigate something like that, how long do you take? Do you take as long as it is? I mean, because...
Well, that one took about 10 minutes to work out. But to give you a good case here, there were some friends of ours. We were with another organization in Swindon. We were in Bristol, and our friends were in Swindon. So I kind of did the magazine side of it, and our other friends did the investigation. And they had this very credible sighting of a woman, from a woman. She's in her front room, looking out the window at night, and she's seeing these bright white cigar-shaped lights flying past her window. And she was terrified. She opened the front door and the dog wouldn't go out. So she contacted this organization and said, something's been flying past my window. So the Swindon friends turned up at her house. Real nice old lady, completely honest, and that what she saw was what she reported was what she saw. So they went into the house, took lots of photographs from where she was seeing, from where her position up through the window, and then they looked outside and they saw these overhead cables, power cables, going across at a similar angle, if not the same angle, on the other side of the road. So they thought, okay, that was exactly where those lights were shining through a window. So she could have been looking at those power cables, but how would that have looked like, bright cigar-shaped lights? So they checked, and the weather conditions, it had been raining that evening, raining hard. So those power cables were wet. Her window was obviously wet and covered in rain droplets, which would have distorted the light. So their theory was that something was shining on those cables. So they went across the road and there was a farm there. And they spoke to the farmer and they said, have you seen anything flying over here? Not at all. Were you out on that particular evening? He said, yes, I was. I was actually out on my tractor, going backwards and forwards in the field, looking for foxes. He had his shotgun with him. And they said, could we see the tractor? They looked at the tractor, and one of the headlights was pointing upwards. They said, what happened there? He said, oh, I smashed the tractor into part of the barn, bent the headlight up, and since then it's been pointing up in the sky. So here you had this farmer going backwards and forwards with the beam going up in the air, reflecting off of these overhead power cables, and she's seeing that through a very wet window. 100% explained. And the only question was, why was the dog frightened? Well, it was very, very cold. He just didn't want to go out. That was the answer to that. Now, it took them about a week of interviewing and following up and checking what the weather pattern was for that day. So they were very diligent. So as long as you spend the time researching it, where you can get the answers, of course, then you can come to usually a good conclusion. Now, what started off as a very fascinating story of these cigar-shaped lights flying past and frightening her and her dog turned out to be very mundane. A series of odd events like the tractor being damaged, but when you put it all together, it 100% explained the story.
Yeah, that's kind of like what we do, you doing the paranormal with us. You can't just say it's all paranormal. It's got to be something self-explanatory before you can say it's paranormal.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a tractor light beaming up in the sky off some lines.
Yep.
And I don't know why my whatchamacallit's pausing like that, but it's beaming in the sky going through a wet window.
Yep. And that's exactly what happened. I used to wonder when we would interview these people and they'd say, what did you see? Oh, we saw this bright, this disc. Well, how big was it? Oh, like a beach ball at arm's length. When you think about that, if you held a penny at arm's length, that would obscure the moon. So these people have perceptions of what they were seeing and the size of it. And so you talk to this person. So you're seeing something in the sky as if you held a beach ball at arm's length, and that's how much of the sky it's filling up. And you're the only person that saw it. Some of this just makes sense, and so you have to question a lot of these witnesses and what the state of mind is. Now, as you talked about aliens at the beginning, I went down to Warminster because I was seeing photographs of spaceships, flying saucers, right. And that's what I thought it was all about. This is straightforward, what they call the ETH, or the extraterrestrial hypothesis, that all these things in the sky. And there's something about like 5,000 a year of worldwide reported UFO sightings.
Oh my goodness.
There was 8,000 about 4 or 5 years ago in one particular busy year. But my theory or my thoughts were, because I used to read the papers and read the magazines, this is all spaceships. But when you start talking to people, then people have different opinions. And those opinions are, well, maybe they're not spaceships. These are people from Earth, but from the future, where we've got this technology and we're coming back into the past. So they're flying back into the past. And that's what which is our present day, and that's what these people are seeing. Other people think, well, maybe it's actually people from the hollow earth, that some people believe the earth is hollow. Some people believe it's flat, as you know. Some people believe it's hollow, and these aliens or these ships come out from the hollow earth. And other people believe it's all in the mind, that what these people are seeing, and as borne out by this fellow in the woods, he was seeing something that clearly wasn't there, or he's misperceiving what he's seeing. So maybe there's something there that could be paranormal, or some kind of intelligence that we don't fully understand, that implants itself in someone's mind if they're perceptive to it. Like I'm about as psychic as a brick, but there are other people around who can sense things, that they're empathic, they're mediums, and they can sense something in a room that I can't. Maybe these people are, or there are people that can get some kind of image that in their head is visualized as a UFO.
Right.
Yes, I am a Doctor Who fan, and that's just a few of the Daleks. I got about 40 of them in the house. Behind. Yeah. So there's theories that people are seeing flying saucers because they can associate that that's what that is. It's a flying disc with aliens. Because back in 1910 or so, there were reported sightings of what were like Zeppelins and these airships, because at the time that was what people were flying in. You had the World War I, the Zeppelins, and you had the Hindenburg. So there were these big airships being built at the time, and so the UFOs were described as something similar to that. And so people think that what is being put into their heads is contemporary. So when people were seeing flying saucers in the 40s and the 50s, that was very close to what the science fiction films were spitting out. And some people believe, therefore, that what they're seeing is not really there. It's something that's being materialized in their head or whatever, in a way that they would understand it, if that makes sense.
But in the same sense, that they always say that they get into your head if you see them or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering if it's one of those things.
I don't know. But as time went on, I did get more and more skeptical. As I said, you would follow up with some of these people and what you're saying, and you come to the conclusion that what they're describing could not have happened. We went to Warminster pretty much every week, and we spoke to people who'd seen things. And there could not have been one person who was seeing something the size of a stadium hovering over the town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole town would be pointing up at the sky. Yet you've got this one person who's seeing something that big down there. So you know that that's not right. You know that that didn't happen, but to them it did. So either there's something is putting those images in their mind, or they're crazy, or they're lying through their teeth. And we've met all those types of people.
Well, it's one of those things where you kind of want to ask first, what was you smoking before you seen it?
Yeah.
Well, look, guys, I'm not knocking that. I believe that there's something out there, and me and Ian, we're not knocking it. Ian goes into a heck of a lot more detail than what I do, and I don't knock anybody.
Right. I mean, there are things that I saw myself personally that I can't explain, and there was a hint of paranormal about this. We went to Warminster one night, Julie and I had a Triumph Spitfire sports car back then, and I was on Cradle Hill. We had the roof down, pointing the front of the car away from the top of the hill, and we heard footsteps in the gravel behind us. So we both turned around, looked backward. There was nobody behind the car, but there were solid footsteps crunching in the gravel. But as we looked back, there was this orange light bobbing across the horizon. And so we thought that something made that noise behind us to make us look back and see it. Started the car, drove right down into the town of Warminster, went into a pub. And this shows my age. There were no such things as cell phones then, so I had to go into the public telephone in the back of the bar, and called one of my colleagues in a small town called Trowbridge. And I said, hey, guess what I've just seen? He said, I bet you've seen the amber gambler. That's what they call this orange light. I said, yeah, I did. We just saw the amber gambler. How did you know that? It flew over here, heading your way to Warminster. So I can't explain what he saw and what we saw, and I can't explain those crunching footsteps behind the car. So not everything. I don't debunk everything. Far from it. You know, as I said, there 5% of all UFO sightings cannot be explained.
Right.
If there's 4,000 or 5,000 a year. That's still a good sizable quantity.
Wow.
I'm just skeptical of most of it.
Well, that's me. It's not that I really want to find out. I don't want to be beamed up or anything like that.
And I try and think about the rationality of it. When you read a story about a farmer in Kentucky had this giant spaceship hovering over his farm, mutilated a couple of his cows or beamed up a cow. There's a question about cattle mutilation.
Go ahead.
Coincidence. That was big in like the 80s and the 90s, that there are a lot of cattle mutilations. I don't know if it still goes on these days, but it was a big thing, and no one ever got to the bottom of it. You know, cattle were being found, you know, sheep, mainly cows, but sheep as well, and organs missing from them. We don't know what it was. They determined that it wasn't wild animals, almost like it was surgically done. But
do you think it might have been? Do those farmers have like insurance on those cattle?
I have no idea. But it's just coincidence that question came up, because I was just using an analogy here that some farmer in Kentucky, he suddenly sees a flying saucer, for want of another word, hovering over his field, beam coming down, maybe mutilating the cattle or beaming something up, covered in flashing lights. So think about it. If an alien is coming a long way from another planet, and you can't think of the huge distance between and the next solar system. You come all that way, but you don't want to make yourself known. That's why you're out in the middle of the Great Plains somewhere, so no one can see you. Yet you cover your spaceship with flashing lights. Some of this just didn't ever make sense. You know, if you are going to cover yourself in flashing lights, go fly over New York. You know, not that in the middle of nowhere where you can't be seen. Some of these things just didn't add up. You know, just trying to think about it.
If they wanted to flash their lights, just go to Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. So
I agree with you on that. It's like you're going to come a long way. You know, why would you expose yourself and do all this?
Exactly. So I began to spend a lot of time thinking about it. You know, I said the huge distances involved, if it is extraterrestrials, and what's so special about this planet that wants all these different aliens. And bearing in mind, the aliens that are described, what they call greys, used to be little green men, like you flashed up earlier for me. And they have them as gray, they call them greys. And then you get some people describing them as hairy. I mean, some in space suits. That would imply lots of different races. Yeah, there's your green. All coming here. This one useless little planet in the middle, in a solar system with a very insignificant little star in one spiral arm of our galaxy. Why are we so important that these thousands of spaceships from different planets would come here just to do a quick visit and then hide, not be seen? You know, because where's all the evidence? Where's the photographic evidence? Oh, I see a question here about, I don't know much about missing people in national parks, Jeff. You'll have,
there you go.
When we get together next, you can ask me more about it. I'll research it in the meantime. I didn't know there were missing people. So sorry, I can draw on a blank on that one. What was I forget what.
Well, here real quick. Tammy asked, Ian, do you think all crop circles are man-made, and how do they make some of them so intricate?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I do. They're all. I think what we come to understand now as crop circle is all man-made, and back in 1980, showing my age, we were the first people in to the crop circles in Westbury in Wiltshire, the same county that Warwick was in. The press reported seeing these big circles in the corn. So we headed there straight after work. Julie and I and a couple of others from the group found this big circle, which was about 60 feet across, and the corn was in a spiral, gradually moving outward. Wasn't a perfect circle. We put several measurements across it, and then tried to explain what it was. One theory was a whirlwind. The press reported it as a landing, a UFO nest. They called it a UFO nest, where the UFO touched down, and that didn't make sense because the thing was, it was spiral. It wasn't just flat and crushed. It was spiral. So we thought, okay, something spinning has caused this. And then some of the other people were saying, well, maybe this is a landing leg or something, or it was spinning when it took off. But the thing wasn't perfectly circular. So we put that down to a whirlwind. We tried to explain it rationally. Like, let's try and use up all the rational explanations before you start looking for something really obscure. Like, you don't see your mail get delivered in your mailbox. It didn't appear magically. You assume that even if you didn't see the mailman deliver it, he actually did. So try and come up with a rational explanation before you think of, oh, this must have been teleported here. No. So let's think of anything that could have made this crop circle. And we were thinking whirlwind. 2 weeks later, another one appeared, 60 foot across, but with two other ones, smaller, about 30 feet across at each end. So you had a line of three, a 30 foot, a 60 foot, and another 30 foot. I thought, okay, the whirlwind theory is not really holding up here, but we had a meteorologist working with us, and he said, oh yeah, I think it could have touched down quickly, lifted up, touched down properly for a few seconds longer, lifted up, and then touched down again, then dissipated. I thought, okay, stretching that theory just a little bit, but I'll still buy it for now. A week later, there were 5 circles, 60-foot one in the middle, and then 4 30-foot circles placed at the north, south, east, west corners, if you like. So it was forming a cross shape. And so the meteorologist had a look at that and he thought, okay, well, maybe this big one in the middle split up and it created smaller ones that did it. I thought, okay, you've lost me now. We're done. You are stretching your meteorological theory here. You're coming up with theories to fit what you're seeing in front of you. And you're sounding as daft as some of these other people that think this is a big spaceship with 4 spinning legs that caused it, which was equally stupid. And we thought the only thing left is man. This is student. This is a prank. And we did find out later on it was students and 2 local farmers who were doing it at the request of some students. I think their theory was, look, people aren't going to be stupid enough to believe they shit. And then the press went crazy with it. Yep, spaceships have landed. They thought, oh, seriously, let's make 3 of them now. Then that will get rid of it. Nope. They still thought this spaceship. When the press went crazy with that, it was a 4-legged. I've got it in this magazine somewhere. The press article. I don't know if you can see that. Is it coming out? But there were commercials and adverts in papers showing. There you go. And if you can see that, there's a picture of a circle and all these landing legs. It's maybe not clear, but there were adverts and people were going crazy thinking, no, this is a big circle where the ship landed, the 4 legs. Oh, that's nonsense. And what they were doing, they had these big planks of wood, about 6-foot planks of wood with ropes on, and they would push the plank around with holding the plank with the ropes and pushing it with their feet, start in the middle and work their way outwards. And they were doing it just to try and prove how stupid the press and some of the gullible public were. And they proved it. But they tried to make these circles more and more outrageous each time to say, some point in time, they're going to say, hold on a minute, this isn't a spaceship. This isn't the weather. You know, this is prank. But a lot of people carried on believing it was aliens, messages from space, signals, and being written out by the aliens. And to this day, there are these crop circle people who believe that these are all messages from aliens. But we knew it was people. So my theory, in answer to that question, yes, they're all man-made. Long way of getting there. And in fact, the cover of my final magazine was, I made a joke here showing like some alien shit with a big egg whisk on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that was the last. I drew that for fun. I thought, okay, this is me just being, you know, I've had enough of this nonsense. And that's when that was the last thing we did. And I quit the topic in 1983, I think it was. You know, I'd had enough with the people out there because we were making a lot of enemies in, you know, because to explain things, we wanted to find the truth. And I know that you do. You go on these ghost hunts, and you're not trying to perpetuate some entertainment. You're trying to find out what's there. You're trying to communicate there and get answers. And I wanted answers. The people who work with me and around me, Julie, we all wanted answers. What are these people seeing? Let's try and find the truth. And so when the Swindon group would report on these cases and explain them, and in my magazines, which I don't know if you've got that link, if you can put that up. All these magazines are free to download for folks.
I do have the link, but I do not have it booted up.
Maybe when you can, because these are all free. I finished printing these a long time ago. You know, I'd hate to count the years, but you know, they would explain their cases, and I would publish these case studies and say, look, this is what was reported. This seems really incredible, but at the end of the day, this was what happened, and it was all explainable. And people got really annoyed with that. They said, I am buying this UFO magazine. And we used to sell about 600 every quarter. It was a quarterly magazine. We had a circulation of 600. And it upset a lot of people who were saying, I am buying this UFO magazine to read about flying saucers. I'm not buying this to find out that someone was seeing Venus or a balloon or some strange weather phenomenon, you know, because like our Swindon friends, you know, there was a case that this woman saw these orange lights. Well, it was a mock sun, solar perihelion, you know, when the sun can create mock suns.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And she didn't see the sun because it was obscure, but she saw the mock one. And anyway, they fully explained it. And when we published that story, people get upset. I don't want to read about those. I want to read about the real aliens and the real flying saucers. And so I'm sorry, you know, vast majority of these cases are, it was a good thing, balance, but it did upset people. Because if people want to subscribe or buy magazines about ghosts, or buy books about ghosts, they don't want or rattling. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. It paused there for a little bit.
Okay. Well, I was just saying that, I don't know if you heard everything I was saying, but people didn't want to read about the explained ones. They wanted to read about all the real fantastic science fiction-y type things, and I just wasn't prepared to do that.
Well, that's one of the things that, you know, even though you go out and do this, you think instead of the government bothering you about it, they would say, hey, I need you to come help us about it.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. The government, of course, back in the 50s, the government here, so say the government, used to send out their men in black and try and stop people reporting what they saw. And of course, most people these days, Men in Black means the Will Smith movies. But back in the 50s, Men in Black there were quite a few cases reported where somebody would say they'd seen something or taken some photographs of something. Next minute, they get a couple of people turn up in a black limousine, black suits and sunglasses, and say, "Keep quiet. Don't tell anybody. Give me your camera. Give me your film." And that was widely reported in the 1950s about the Men in Black threatening witnesses to keep quiet, and people thought that they were government agents trying to suppress the stories going on. And our friends in Swindon had a Man in Black case.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So what happened with them? They used to meet at different houses. Each of them, the team members, they would rotate where they had their weekly meetings about what cases they were going to investigate. Then shows how old we are. There was a cassette, the old little small cassette, was popped through their letterbox, and they opened up the cassette, and there was a message, a little handwritten, and like computer writing in it inside said, "Cease what you're doing, stop what you're doing." And they played the cassette, and it was a very robotic voice saying, "We know who you are, stop what you're doing." So they were perturbed by that. So they said, "Well, we're not going to stop what we're doing, but we'd like to know who did this." And then it happened again. While all the team were in the house, this cassette appeared, and another one, and another one, and then a series of these cassettes and envelopes. It was coming through the mail as well, with this strange writing on the front of the envelope, and the same writing in the letter, telling them to cease UFO study or else. Quite threatening they were. Again, they didn't know what was happening, but they were then told to record answers or to some of these questions on a cassette, and put this cassette on a post in a field, middle of nowhere. And the cassette the next day was gone. So, and then this is how they were communicating. So one of the group, Charlie, very, very clever engineer, he got hold of this camera, and he created a steel box, and he fixed the camera into the steel box. Then he put a little mechanism with a shutter that once the camera had gone off, a steel shutter would slide over the front of the box and seal that camera in. Then they encased that steel box in concrete. They dug a big hole near this post out in the field, dug a big hole, sunk the steel into this concrete where the shutter would, where it would point up at this post. And there was one of their members that they didn't tell that they were doing, because they had suspicions about one of their own team members. Anyway, so they obediently responded, and they put the cassette back on the post, and they all went home. And during that night, the camera was triggered. He'd taken the cassette off the post, it pulled this little cable, which fired off the flash gun and the camera, and also then the little shutter mechanism dropped the shutter in front of the camera, and the steel box was sealed with the camera safely inside it, in solid concrete in the ground, and it was solid there. But that fellow, and it was one of their own team members, pulled that concrete and the camera out the ground and dragged it about 6 feet before he got exhausted, and then ran away.
Oh my goodness.
Back, they found it there 6 feet from where they'd left it. And there was a little pinhole that Charlie had built, and that you could push a pin through there, and it allowed the back to open up. And then they got the camera out, and they had a photograph of their colleague, one of their own team, doing it. They don't know what possessed him, but he was dropping these cassettes in while they were at their meeting. It was him all the time.
Oh wow!
See, now they went to incredible lengths to catch him. I wouldn't have thought of any of that, but this was a Swindon lot. They were great. I'm still friends with them to this day.
That's cool, though. And did they get what did you say the picture was?
A picture of their colleague, their friend, grabbing the cassette off the post.
So they were actually, his friend was actually playing MIB.
Yes. Their own team member who'd been with them a long time was playing them for fools, and they suspected him, so they didn't tell him that they were making this box with the camera in. But they don't know what was going through his mind, why he chose to do that and cause them such a lot of concern and stress, because they were written in letters. And we published that case as well in this issue. That's another one of my covers.
Guys, I will post his magazines online. Actually,
Yeah,
it is posted on there.
yeah, the whole story's in there.
I won't post it again, but the magazines are free for you all to look at. Uh, I was trying to get Krista Scruggs. She said, "Do you think Men in Black are aliens themselves, or just strictly government?"
If they did exist and there were reports of them, I would have said that they were government. If I had to come down on one particular side, I don't think they were aliens. I remember reading one story where apparently the sunglasses slipped off of one of these Men in Black and the eyes didn't look human, but that, I don't know how much credence to put in that. But
Well, my buddy,
the Men in Black, if they did exist.
Sorry, it's cutting in and out on me. I was just going to say, a buddy of mine, his name's Chris, he posted something about a lady that was talking about the Men in Black, and he says there was one of them that was like a very powerful empath that could control your mind. But, you know, that's one of those things that we don't know. She was the only one there.
Yeah, but I don't know if you heard me, but one of the stories I read, one of the Men in Black sunglasses slipped and the eyes apparently didn't look human. So that would give some more weight towards them being aliens, if that was the case. If the Men in Black really did exist. But there were enough reports in the 50s, to say credibility that somebody was trying to shut people up. There's enough books out there on the subject.
I agree with you. I don't think that it would be, this is just my opinion, but I don't think it would be anybody that's just capturing pictures, but if they actually captured something that would be discriminating to them, as in actually got a UFO, actually got an alien, but then everything, well, back then it would be more legit because of photo, and we can Photoshop now, so.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing as well. I gave you some statistics that like 5,000 sightings around the world. That would put several hundred, if not 1,000 sightings in the USA. I don't know. I don't know what the USA statistics are. But if you think about, there are 1,000 tornadoes spotted in the USA every year. There's pretty good evidence of that. Plenty of good photographs and footage. And there has been for decades. Now, everybody carries a camera with them these days. How come there aren't decent photographs that aren't photoshopped? You mentioned Photoshop. How come we haven't got photographic evidence of all these sightings?
Right.
Well, it's good. It's been photoshopped.
Jason Townsend, what do you think about, is that Zachariah?
I'm sorry, I'm ignorant. I don't know who that is.
It may be somebody in the United States that's done a lot about.
Sorry, Jason, I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Like you were saying, Photoshop and stuff like that about this new. Lisa said something about it. The evidence that they just caught over the ocean. You hear about that?
No.
Where the Navy caught something.
Yeah, the government have now, the U.S. Navy have confirmed that 3 of the film clips are genuine, and they are UFOs. They can't explain what's on the film.
Right.
So they don't know what it is. They're not saying it's aliens. They're calling it UFO. Sorry, they're using the term unidentified aerial phenomena or something. UAP, I think they're calling it.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but
it's camera. It's camera footage from the jets, from F-18 Hornets, and so what you've got is a kind of infrared, like a black on white, white on black type blurry image. And but I don't know the details of how fast these things were flying. But the Navy have said that they have confirmed that it was tangible objects that were caught on their jet cameras.
So, but this didn't quite say UFO.
Yeah, but I don't. They're not saying it's a spaceship. I mean, it's unidentified at the moment. So whether that's some kind of Russian jet or something, or whether or not it could be something more, I don't know. But that's as far as they've gone. So that's the first credible type of evidence that we've had for a long time.
Well, not only that, it's coming from our government. I mean, are they opening up more with us now, or?
They had to be open to a certain degree anyway. There was like a Freedom of Information Act, and I know that some UFO records have been released, and all this Project Blue Book stuff is out there that was put together years ago. But they've been very quiet. I don't know what Trump's view on aliens are. Apparently, Jimmy Carter was reported to have seen a UFO, was going to release some UFO files when he was the president. I don't know what Obama and Clinton's did about that, but I don't know. I don't know what the government files are. The Ministry of Defence in England released a bunch of stuff, but it was all pretty inconclusive. I mean, all they did was release the reports that they'd received. They themselves didn't really investigate anything.
Oh wow!
They just get all these reports coming in, and they stick them in a file, and under a similar act in England, they had to release a lot of those MOD files. But as I said, it's just reports that weren't investigated.
Well, I don't know if you heard the same thing coming up, but a lot of them were talking about the sun. They have a base on the sun. I mean, we can't look up there and look at the sun. I mean, with sunglasses, but aliens have bases on sun.
How
I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of stories of bases on the moon, and there's a couple of books I read. One was called Our Spaceship Moon, that they felt that the moon was actually hollow and is a spaceship that's occupied by aliens inside. There's a lot of weird books out there.
There's a lot of different things. Theories.
Yeah. Do I think Area 51 is studying extraterrestrials? Interesting. There's, I think his name is like Bob Lazar or Bob something like that. I can't remember his name. Claims that they've got. Is it Bob Lazar?
I think it's Bob
claims
Lazar.
That I think he's claiming they've got complete intact craft in there. But to be honest, I think it's just a government weapons development type. 30 years ago, maybe more, there are reports of black triangles being seen with lights on the corners. And then come the B bombers, the stealth fighters, which are triangular in shape. So in that area, room and all that, likely prototypes of what became our stealth fighters. So I think it really you don't want. Sorry.
Sorry, it cut in and out a little bit real quick. But that's like you said, we are not knocking anybody that believes in aliens. We're just saying, hey, there's proof out there. Find that proof. Just get more proof. Pictures these days can be photoshopped. Videos can be photoshopped.
Yeah.
But we're not knocking it. Actually, we do want to see these things.
Yes.
We want to see them. Go ahead, Ian.
We know that we're not the
right.
100 hours this alone would indicate that there are plenty. The chances of there's more out there is huge. It can not be. We can fling across light years just to hide. That's what I that way. And you show yourself to person in the middle of nowhere, then you fly away, or you flash some lights first, then you fly away. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I did have a story out in
But
Colorado
yeah,
that this guy told me, and it was really funny because I was delivering bees, and we were out in the middle of a field, and he asked me, he says, "Do you believe in aliens?" And I looked at him real funny. Yeah, what have you been drinking? But he looked at me. He says, "I do. I got chased by one." I said, "Okay, what did you get chased by?" He says it was a blue sphere. He says he ran, got into a building, ran to the other side of the building. It was there. He said it was quiet and everything like that. It's like, I don't know how old he was. I don't remember. And that's my fault because, I at first it was kind of weird that we're standing out in the middle of a field and somebody asked me that. Go ahead, Ian.
he's thinking that's alien. Yeah, he's thinking that's alien. Somebody else may think it's paranormal.
Right. Because they say in paranormal, blue lights is a soul passing over.
You,
So I don't know.
I didn't hear that, Shane.
Oh,
You froze.
I said in the paranormal field, a lot of people say that blue lights are souls passing over.
Right.
Over.
Yeah, I've heard that. So my point exactly, it's what people perceive. There may be, and this is how we started the conversation, that there could be something out there, some intelligence putting something in their head or manifesting in a way that that they're conditioned to receive it. So some people may perceive it as something ghost-like. Other people may perceive it as some metallic spaceship with nuts and bolts and flashing lights on it. I don't know. But a blue sphere doesn't seem to be alien to me. It seems more paranormal.
Right. Well, there's so much stuff out there that everybody can read and see what's going on. And Ian's got his books that his magazines that you all need to check out yourself because honestly, I didn't get to because I was ill. And I do want to thank everybody for the prayers and wishes and stuff like that. It was really heartwarming, as many as I got. It really touched me. Thank you so much. But like I said, I'm going to post his magazines again, his link to his magazines. It's free. You all check it out, read up on it, and go from there. But go ahead, Ian. I just had to jump that in there real quick. We got about 3 or 4 minutes.
The early one, naive. Okay. Well, those magazines, the early ones were very naive. They got better towards the end, more professional. So please, if you are going to read them, please be paid too much at the early issues. Just bear with it. Better towards. I did 12 in the end. I was quite proud of them. It got quite well known and well received. And the British UFO Research Association, the official organization in England, adapted it to circulation. They took it on board as the magazine official UFO Research Association, and they wanted me to carry on, but I'd had enough.
You never really got
it. Very toxic, the environment.
Did you ever have any? You didn't have anybody like threaten your life or anything like that as you was doing all this, did you?
No, nothing like that. But I found it.
Oh,
I found theories, but they're more tolerant of each other. In the UFO field, they all knew the answers. There were the groups that knew that they were aliens, and the groups that knew that they were. There was most of these are not real. They're not aliens. It became. I got a lot of bad emails, and not emails in those days, letters. And I thought, I don't need this. And after the 12th issue, I felt I need to go and do a different life. And I went and joined a Star Trek club instead. That's true.
Did you really? I told you this man amazes me every time I turn around. He comes out with something
And
new.
I started making costumes.
All right, guys. I
started making Klingon
costumes. Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's for another day. I'll tell you all about those another day.
I forgot to throw in my advertisement for Ghost Hunt Weekends. Boy, he's going to hurt me. Hey, there's Chris. He just now showed up. Better late than never, brother. Hey, you guys are interested in the ghost hunt? You want to get on www.ghosthuntweekends.com. It will be your ultimate paranormal fan experience. Don't miss out, guys. You may catch me there. You may catch the producer there if I'm there. I know she's there. You may catch Ian here on there while we are ghost hunting. All right, guys. We are out of time, Mr. Ian, sir. Thank you, Jason. Look, guys, we were supposed to do a giveaway tonight due to the fact that I did not push it and I did not do the things that I was supposed to do when I was ill. Please bear with me. We're going to push it out for another week and we'll make our drawing next weekend. If you want to get a chance to get some, I think the producer's coming up with some idea where you all can get your name in the hat for a couple extra times or so. But I'll post something about it. I'm not for sure exactly what she wants to do about that. We was going to try to do a giveaway tonight, but I don't have anything to give away because I was doing a giveaway. Ian, I'm lost. I have to get with my sponsors, see what they want to do, and I'll go from there. Hey, look, Ghost Hunt Weekends is at the Thomas House this weekend. We got Ian there this weekend. I'll be there this weekend. My producer will be there this weekend. There's plenty of that's going to be there this weekend, and I think a couple of the Tennessee Ray Chasers are going to be there this weekend. I'm not mistaken. When it gets October, man, we are booked like crazy. Thanks, Chris. If I don't, that's her professional, the producer. That's all right, Chris, brother. You can get on there. I'll repost it later on. You won't miss it. Ian was awesome, dude. He told us some good stuff. I guess you did miss. I'm just kidding, brother. He was awesome to listen to. His stories were great, and the way he done things, it was really awesome. I do know that sometime in October we are going to Tracy City, Tennessee. We will have the Tennessee Ray Chasers there. Ian, you're going to be there?
Unfortunately not, because Julie's going over to England, and she gets back on the day of the Tracy City event.
That's right. I remember talking to. Yeah, and those magazines, I will post Ian's magazines on Facebook real quick. I know, Chris, brother, you always share the crap out of it. Love you for it, man. Thank you so much. I am not still 100%. I'll go 100% one day and get 81 and 70 another. But bear with me, guys. Producer's looking at me chewing on a banana. But I guess I'm going to have to cut it short. Ian, thank you so much, my brother, for being here tonight. We will have to do this again. Maybe get in depth in some of your magazines that you got going on and see what's going on.
All right. Not a problem.
But love you. We shall see you this weekend. Everybody out there, love you and thank you for all the prayers and get betters and all that other good stuff. And it was really, what do you want to call it, humbled me. It really humbled me. It did. I mean, it was over 300 different comments, and I mean, it was awesome. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And I'm going to get off here before I start crying because I get emotional. But everybody have a great night. We love you, and always and forever, stay